All right, y'all. So, we're going to explain the 8 S's of athletic development. I love alliteration. I think it's the best way to teach, best way to memorize. So, we'll hop right in. At the forefront of everything is skill development. So, speed is a skill, strength is a skill. All of these things in a weight room setting, in a controlled setting, are skills. It's also the beautiful skills that you learn trying as many different things as possible, whether that's any type of athlete doing a martial art, getting out and rock climbing, scrambling, kayaking. If you play sports that are very cyclical and sort of mono movement, you really should get out and try to explore different ranges and reactivity sports like pickleball, tennis, volleyball, spike ball. And for anybody who's a team athlete that wants change of direction and agility, for the love of friggin' God, stop setting out speed ladders and going to coaches that call themselves experts, when in actuality, the fact of the matter is, if you play more tag, you're going to get far more awesome. Sports take care of speed and agility and change of direction far more than stuff in the weight room. The qualities you gain in the weight room allow you to express those things more, but don't make a mistake in thinking that your coach, your performance coach, can solve those problems, because agility is your ability to make decisions with the abilities that you have. And so when we're really looking at skillful people, they possess the ability to see spaces differently than everyone else. Now, they're using all of the qualities they may have trained, but space is really what matters. So proprioceptive vestibular awareness, what I see in front of me, what is that gap showing me, and the more skills and the more qualities I develop to find myself more elite in spaces that are provided, the better it's going to be. So Lionel Messi sees things somebody else never sees. Patrick Mahomes, multi-sport athlete, didn't play football until his junior year of high school, plays the quarterback position like it's a shortstop. So we see things out of him that we've never seen before. There's a ton of evidence from that book I referenced, The Best How Elite Athletes Are Made, and many other research articles that suggest that rowers and swimmers and cyclists all played multiple sports, got into the game pretty late. We know that 70% or more of pro athletes are late developers, got into the game late, and will always credit their diverse athletic background as what made them awesome and allowed them to not only draw from physical experience, but a mental and emotional or psychological experience as well, so that they can overcome and be excellent. So your ability to negotiate space in your sport, in your physical activity, your ones is really what determines what makes somebody amazing. A running back seeing the gap, a track sprinter or a cyclist being able to see these small little windows of opportunity, how to ride into them, what kind of skills they have to be able to come out and emerge on top. We've talked about strength before in other little mini lectures, but really we need to develop strength, and most people try to solve problems with a ton of correctives and all this fragile mindset, which does psychological damage, particularly whenever you get with the wrong types of physical therapists or you see the wrong type of social media. They'll tell you something's wrong with you. You don't have perfect technique. That doesn't fucking exist. There's infinite movement problems, infinite movement solutions. If it makes me cringe as a coach, I'll make minor tweaks, but for the most part, your body will self-organize and do the thing that it's asked to do to the best of its ability. There's no such thing as perfect running mechanics. There's cadences. There's different patterns that we can train. There's some different things we look for in terms of coming off the line and sprinting, whether that's football or track running, with certain types of arm angles like right away and what the feet are doing. But for the most part, we're really our deficit is that of strength. And oftentimes, I'll also associate power with strength just because I wanted to keep it 8 S's, but power is in between the speed and the strength we're searching for. So your ability to produce maximum amounts of force when and where it matters as often as possible is going to be the thing that makes you elite in a performance setting that can transfer into the sport. It's one thing to be extremely powerful, but if you can't navigate spaces with skills, it doesn't necessarily matter. And so we develop as much strength as possible. That's where the gap usually lies in, like, almost every single athlete I've ever had. They're just not strong enough. They have a kyphotic spine. We're not trying to solve all those problems. It takes decades to fix structures. It can take 10 years to change your ankles. It can take a very long time to change the structure of a spine. But we work with what we have within the parameters that your body allows for, the skills that it currently has, and we train it. And if you start to feel pain, not discomfort, we talk about it and we readjust. The springs are the tendons, the ligaments. Those are trained through extensive, so more just like quick pops, and intensive, so the biggest jumps you can possibly produce. Your upper body isn't plyometric necessarily. We see a lot of that, maybe medicine ball stuff or clap push-ups are called plyometrics, but we can use the principles of plyometrics, which establishes that you're supposed to leave the ground a certain amount of time to be able to do those things. So really we want to develop springs and this ability to have the right amount of stiffness and the right amount of elasticity. And oftentimes what we see is a lot of athletes, when they jump, they only hit ball and toe the foot, never allowing the heel to slightly drop so that it asks more of the Achilles tendon, which will ride all the way up the posterior chain. When you do this, when you develop springs, you're giving yourself an opportunity for what's called free energy return. So I'm no longer relying on this muscular driven, some athletes are just that way and some are more elastic, but we're trying to give everybody the opportunity to be even better at that, so that they're not relying on more muscles, which asks the body to produce far more byproducts, as well as other chemical reactions, asking it to do a lot more work metabolically than it needs to do sometimes. So if you're a runner, a cyclist, any type of athlete, man, if you can build the springs and rely more on tendons and ligaments instead of muscles, man, it's going to be amazing for you. We talk about speed. I mean, speed is just the ability to move as fast as you friggin' can, and we train those qualities, and I won't spend too much time on that. Those who are more endurance race riders, like, or endurance athletes of any kind, tactical athletes, most get pretty good steady state, whether that's through rucking or on the bike, on the rower, or on the track. But steady state is just that ability to stay ideally in zone 2. So there's 5 zones that you're searching for. Zone 2 cardiovascular training, and sometimes that can be found, there's a ton of different methods to do that, but for the most part it's just kind of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable for longer periods of time, so anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes for most people. And this can also look like walking. So zone 1, just getting out with your music or without your music, taking it all in. We know it settles the amygdala, so any kind of fear or emotional responses you may have when you get out and take walks, it's really important. And this should make up the bulk of your training week. You should be walking and moving at lighter paces than you ever should in the weight room. It's where I often make my mistake. But really the best way to monitor that is just checking in on your resting heart rate. Heart rate variability is very random. Still not a great technology on a lot of these devices. So pay attention to resting heart rate, pay attention to your sleep. If you want to, if that becomes a problem, when people obsess over their health, they can become orthorexic. Be smart about that, so don't obsess over it. I got rid of my Whoop because frankly, I just got to train, It doesn't necessarily matter. I pay attention to my body. If I feel like crap, I don't train that day. Within all of this lies stretch. So, does your body have the flexibility that it needs to perform the tasks you want it to perform? You don't have to be a contortionist. You don't have to do the splits in midair like Fernando Tatis when he's catching a ball. Just depends on the sport. First baseman needs to be super flexible. A cyclist, on the other hand, probably needs to train flexibility because it gets them out of these very specific patterns where what you're trying to do is prevent what's called creep in the joint. So you don't want it to basically lie still and atrophy is what we're about. So we're trying to make sure we get enough fluid into the joint capsules, into those deepest layers of tissue, by giving more stretches, allowing more opportunities, like I've described in a previous lecture, more opportunities to lay down tissue at end range, which will allow for sarcomeres to contract and relax and allow you to express the athleticism you were after in the first place. And then there's stillness. Stillness can come in the form, for me, of isometrics, whether those are yielding, so you're working against gravity, or overcoming, you're pushing against an immovable object. The overcoming lasts a hell of a lot less time, anywhere from like 3 to sometimes 10 seconds. And the yielding is usually done for minimum, what we're searching for is a golden window of tissue health at 2 minutes. And then anything beyond that, we call those your bad hombre challenges. So you're just kind of going for it. The other side of that is the best athletes, and really probably some of the best people in the world, do a tremendous job of balancing a lot of effort with at least a little recovery, right? So being able to recognize that you need rest, and rest doesn't look like 8 different modalities, going to the sauna and the ice bath and whatever else rich white people do. Sit on the couch, do nothing, read for pleasure, write if you need to, take walks. Ideally, it looks like sitting on your ass for a day and not asking anything more of yourself. And if you struggle with the anxiety of that, remember, Wayfinder is not just this like physical performance entity. We have Jessie Rose that really, I wish I'd had her in my life so much sooner, that can take your life, organize it in such a way that you can learn to like love your life a little bit more. So whether that's through any dimension of wellness and health, financially, nutritionally, recovery modalities, all those things, she can take care of that and help you feel good while you're doing that. Get disciplined with it. She's like this soft disciplinarian. It's pretty amazing. And Ashton Dreyer can obviously take care of the athletic performance needs, post-race, pre-race, all those things. But it's really important to practice stillness. All of us want sleep. Some of us struggle to get it, me included. And so if that's a thing and you feel like you need some help there, please participate in the Q&As for any of this stuff. Ask as many questions as you can. I love being supportive. I love dialogue and dialectical learning and being able to kind of explore and learn together. So those are the 8 S's. I think that pretty much sums everything up that I would try to develop in an athlete and a mover and a human being. So as far as the physical traits, doing a lot of work on the character side as well, but that's not for y'all yet. Anyway, y'all take care. Thanks for watching and listening.